Hey everyone, today is a great episode as it is a Q&A, which means we get to answer your questions. And for this, I'm joined by a very special guest. Hey everyone, I hope you're well, playing on and making the games that you all love. You're joining me, your host, Max Pears. But not just me, we're joined by a very mythical creature, a beautiful man who's joining us all the way from the UK right now, which is Daniel Howard.
You are far too kind, good sir. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
No, man, thank you for being there. And those of you who don't know, Dan, you may have heard a few episodes on. He's an alumni of the show. He's been on, was it 2 or 3, I believe, episodes in total?
2 episodes, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and we've been chatting about narrative with Dan. For those of you in the $25 tier, you'll also recognize him as he did a whole talk on narrative. But not only this, Dan has been great enough to lend his skills to help improve this show, not just by co-hosting with this Q&A, but by being now the video editor for the Level Design Lobby. So I think it's great. So I would say give a round of applause. I was about to say that, but then I was like, there's no one here.
We'll hold for applause. You guys can fill that in.
And yeah, so Dan's going to be great help in, pushing this to the next level. That's an awful pun. I say that all the time, but he's going to be doing it. And I think you're really going to enjoy the work that he does. So again, thank you very much, Dan, mate.
No, thank you for having me. It's great.
No, man. So do you want to give a little bit more about yourself before we crack on with the questions, my friend?
I am a writer, filmmaker. Like Max just said, I'm now editing episodes for Level Design Lobby, which has been an absolute blast. Get me back into the edit suite and brushing up some old skills. So hopefully you'll be enjoying what's coming out and the things that are to come. I'm also an avid gamer, have been for many, many years. Mine and Max's discussions go back a ways, and we can really get
longer than a decade now, isn't it? Which is a scary thought.
Yeah, well, uni will be 10 years ago now. So, yeah, enjoy that. Me and Max have known each other for about 15 years now.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
It's a long time. So, yeah, avid gamer, love film, love narrative in general. Obviously, that's a big topic that we've touched on before. The first episode of the podcast that I joined on was about narrative. And then, like Max said, I did a short presentation on narrative as well. And that's really what I think we're all trying to do in our own way in everything that we're crafting, be it film, games, books. We're all kind of weaving our own narratives. So, yeah, that's a little bit about me. Back over to you.
Awesome, man. So, yeah, it's great to have Dan here. So, for this episode, though, we're going to do some Q&A. So, for those of you who wonder where the questions come from, they actually come from the members of our Patreon, because we have a little Discord server there with a great community. And I haven't been able to answer all the questions that were previously thrown at me. So, this one is kind of more of a cleanup in the sense of addressing the ones that I've missed throughout the time. Dan will be the one to preach that I've gone way back in the archives because I've missed some for sure. So
yeah, we're doing a big deep dive here.
Yeah, that's it. All right then, mate. Do you want to hit me with the first question then, buddy?
All right. So the first question that we're gonna head to, a very good question actually by Tyler Houston. Tyler is curious about the creative problem solving as it relates to level design. So he says he knows that there is a big thing that employers look for, sorry. And he's wondering what creative problem solving looks like for you in level design. Yeah,
it's a really good question. This can come in many different ways. And do you know how confident an answer already starts off with doesn't it? It's No, so this can come in many different forms. I think it could come from, firstly, just even creating your first level, because you get different briefs in terms of the goals that you want from different teams when you're sitting in your meeting to first come up with the idea of the level. You have the mission objectives, the narrative, the art style for the level. All of these will come into it, and it's on you, not just you to figure it out, but to take everyone's information, what do they want from it, and then best figure out how to solve that and present it in a level. So that's one of the first ones, is actually taking all the information and then creating something out of it. Another one to do from this can come in the form of scripting, right? In terms of maybe there's a bug that you can't figure out why maybe it's causing someone to spawn in another room when you want to spawn into the main atrium. But you need to figure out and break down how do you do this. So things like that, I say, it can come in many different ways. Communication in terms of with your team as well can also be a big part of it. So those are only just a couple of examples. Honestly, you could go on to a lot more with problem solving. Maybe, for example, another one would be the actual restrictions of the console itself and how you can use what limited tech. For example, maybe you can only spawn 8 guys, shall we say, in a combat event, but you want to kind of stagger them. So you got to figure out where to spawn them, how to spawn them so the player doesn't notice them, but then also to try and make sure that maybe in total we want 16 enemies, but we can only have 8 on the screen. So then you got to figure out how to get those enemies in and how to make it still feel crowded. So those are some good examples, and I hope that that answers the question there for you, buddy.
Yeah, dynamite answer that. I think you hit the nail on the head. Another thing I would say with creative problem solving is not being afraid to think outside the box. And I think a real good source of inspiration for a lot of things like that is classic movies. Obviously, myself, I come from a film background.
Yep.
But I do think you can learn a lot that will then translate into level design. So a big example of creative problem solving that I always remember is Mary Poppins. They needed a high exterior shot for Victorian London, and obviously filming in 1963 in Burbank, California, they didn't have an exterior shot of Victorian London. So what they did was they painted Victorian London on a pane of glass, but then to make it appear lifelike, so you weren't just looking at a still image, they scratched out bits of the paint in the glass and shone a light through it to make it look like flickering gas lamps on the street. So that's a really creative way that the filmmakers came around what seemed like an impossible task to obviously generate a Victorian London street in 1960s California. And so classic movies are peppered with little details like that that could be a real source of inspiration. So just not being afraid to try something, even if it might seem mad, it could be the solution to the problem that you're looking for.
Yeah, man, that's a great one. I didn't even know about that. Yeah, crazy that they did that. And it's just the whole scratching things out. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, like I say, so that's you'll find little tidbits like that from all avenues, and taking inspiration from various places and various things that you love is always important.
Yeah, man, great addition there, buddy. All right, should we hit up number 2 then, mate?
Yeah, so the second question that we're going to go to comes from Asuro, and Asuro is going to ask, what is the pipeline or workflow between art environment and level design specifically in order to meet the deadline?
Yeah, so this can change a few times in terms of how a studio is run, but in terms to meet deadline, you will be assigned your partner for this. And you will hopefully be working with your partner throughout the entire process. And you will have micro deadlines. You obviously have your big one, which is to finish the level for a review, for example. That means that then you as the LD will need to finish the block out after, say, 3 to 5 days, depending on size. And then art will take it over for, say, 2 weeks. Now, they need extra time because obviously they're filling it with detail, making sure that it has that more artistic flair to it, which is always needed. And then once they've done that, you will review the work with them as they will review your layout too. So there's a back and forth with that. And that's roughly where it goes. But in terms of it, it's always about communication and making sure that you split the workload and try hit these deadlines before you have the overall ones, so that you're constantly getting ahead of one another so they can work on stuff. You can then work on, for example, scripting while they may be propping out your level. So yeah, it's about that I'd say is a strong one.
Yeah, absolutely. Communication, I think, is the big thing I was going to chime in with, but you already hit it. Boom. Not a lot I will add there, being that it was a specific level design question, albeit collaboration is something that you deal with in almost every medium, and communication, like you said, is probably the key pillar in all of that.
At Level Design Lobby, we believe everybody has a story to tell. Hobbyist or student, Freelancer or veteran, we made it our mission to unite those who share our passion for creating and developing great games. Thanks to our generous Patreon backers, we've been able to do just that. So if you've already pledged your support, thank you. If not, you too can ensure the future of Level Design Lobby, helping us to create even more exciting content, collaborations, interviews, and much more. With awesome perks and rewards, whether you're a seasoned professional or just getting started, you're sure to find something for you. Want to share tips, tricks, and advice with passionate, like-minded developers? Our awesome community Discord has you covered. Fancy practicing your level design, creating strong portfolio content, and having fun? Then try our level design weekends. Or perhaps you want to individually discuss your work, hone your skills, or level up your career? Then consider our one-on-one mentorships. If you share our vision, then go to patreon.com/Level Design Lobby for more information and to pledge your support. Thank you.
Moving on, we've got a question from Taicho Bolt.
Awesome.
So Taicho Bolt's going to ask, what are some good pointers to be aware of as a level designer when working with other people on a team, for example, artists and system designers, in order to create a good level?
I mean, going on with what we mentioned earlier, Dan, is obviously communication. Communication is the most important. Like, you need to make sure that everyone understands what's going on and is on the same page. I think there's an episode I did called like Working with Environment Art. I can't remember when it was, but it's some point last year, in which I talk about how different skill sets respond better to different kind of communicational methods. So for example, I'm not going to write a description of what the level I want it to look like. Instead, I'll send over a mood board, some reference images. So right off the bat, they will understand what it is I'm looking for. So communication is different there versus a system designer, in which I will be listening. I'll be listening to the artists, obviously, but they will be providing me with a mechanic, shall we say. So that way I need to communicate with them how best to use it. Maybe I have a different idea that we can work into the system and go from here. But one of the best things, and it goes back to the answer as well there on the previous question, was the fact that play it with these people. Make sure that you get people in a room together, or if you want to just do it one by one, that's fine. And make sure that they play it or you play it for them. This way, they understand the space. They understand what you're actually trying to do. And all of this comes together. So it's about communication again. Again, some people respond differently to different communications. I know some people who don't like to read emails, so the best way to get them is on the instant messenger. All of these things. So first, find out how best to communicate with your teammates. That's something I like to ask. Where's the best place to reach you? What do you like in terms of detail and this and these sort of things? But again, understand their role in terms of what's on the level. If it's art, it's to help make it look beautiful. So communicate and show that. If it's systems designers, it's about making sure the gameplay is fun. This is about discussing that, pitching ideas, and also listening in terms of how they've set up this mechanic for you to use. So that's how I roughly recommend there.
Yeah, that's a really great shout. I think obviously there was a lot of elements from that question that kind of piggyback perfectly off of the one before. And it really comes down to what we've just said, which is that communication is very much the backbone of collaboration. And that's something that you'll find in any walk of life, not just in creative endeavors, but, in any workspace, in any job, in anything you try and achieve. Effective communication is going to be what gets you the best result.
Yeah, man, agreed.
So,
is this the final question, or is this the...
This will be the final question, and it's actually quite a fitting final question, because we're moving away from the actual production side of things to essentially a portfolio and a showcasing question. So this is from Asuro again, and Asuro wants to know how to best showcase your levels when looking for work.
That's a really good one there, mate. I think with regards to portfolios, the toughest thing I find is that you're not always sure what the best level design portfolio is. Unlike artists who have sites like ArtStation, which create unified space for all art portfolios, it's a little bit different. Now, we have got on the Discord channel quite a few level design portfolio examples on there for people to check. But I think the best way is to put your best foot forward. And what I mean by this is, if you just have one level, maybe you don't even need to send a website. Maybe you just need to send a video of your level. But if you have more, make sure that firstly, they're all at the same quality bar. If you have one good one and then two really bad ones, that's going to show to the reviewer that maybe you don't understand the best quality of your work, which will look bad on you. But the best way that I describe it to have, and this is just my personal opinion, when you're creating a website or portfolio, obviously your personal taste will go into there as well. But the most important thing, regardless of the style that you make the portfolio in, is make sure that your work is the first thing that they see. That's what they want to see. So make sure that your work is upfront and it's easy to access. Now, I also have, this is just a personal pet peeve, and I don't think this is, this is just personal. So I don't think you'll get marked down for this. I really am not a fan of a portfolio website that is just white background with black text, because a website's supposed to be entertaining, right? Like, you're not meant to just have show your personality off is what I'm saying. Don't just have that. Like, I know it's just showing off your work, but I think you can do a bit more with that. And then next there, I think a video, it can just be a short walkthrough in which they can instantly see your work. Now, a lot of times people reviewing your work won't actually get a chance to play it, because if you've applied for a job, trust me, there's hundreds of people who've applied, so they won't always have the time. So make sure you can have a video fly through. Next, break things down. When you're writing about your level, keep it to bullet points. Don't overwhelm them with a block of text. Try keep it simple. Show the progress as well, such as going from your paper design to your first block out, if you have an art pass, all those elements, and show that throughout it. So again, work, easy to find. Make sure that you only have your best work. It's not about quantity, it's about quality. If you only have one good level, that's perfectly fine. That's okay. Just show that one good level. Next, and this is just personal taste, so you don't have to listen to this, but don't just have white on black. I just think there's better ways to show it. So show a bit of, especially on your website, show a bit of your personality through it. Go through that. Make sure that you have a video walkthrough going through your level. Keep the text to bullet points and very minimal so people can see it, and show your progress. People want to see your thought process through that. So keeping it from the early stages to the finished product. That's what I would recommend to you peeps.
Yeah, fantastic. I think the simplicity aspect of that, twinned with the best foot forward approach. There's the old adage of you're only as good as your last piece of work. And when you're trying to get yourself out there, that really does ring true. Don't put something in there that you're not proud of, that you don't think you gave your all. If there's something you can see the flaws in, then obviously that's something that an employer will be seeing the flaws in. You need to be able to really stand behind any piece of work that you put out there. It's got to be about your passion. You've got to believe in that project. It can't be something you've just phoned in. So, yeah, I think you've really hit the nail on the head with all those.
Cheers, mate. But yeah, for those of you who want to, because we'll start to wrap this one up, Dan, is for those of you who actually want to answer more, to ask more questions, answer more, but let's ask more, then please do so on the Discord, which is called Podcast Questions. Write them at any time. We'll try to do this either once a month or once every 2 months around then, so we can accumulate more questions. And if you want to join the Patreon to ask us questions, then please head over to patreon.com/Level Design Lobby. And if people want to reach out to Dan to discuss more narrative, how can they do so, sir?
I am over on Twitter at Doward24. That is also my PSN gamer tag. It's also my Discord tag. It's pretty much my tag everywhere and anywhere. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on YouTube.
Yep. So please, if you've got any narrative questions, head over to Dan. He's got a lot of wealth of insight there. And if you want to reach out to me, you can do so on Twitter, which is @MaxPairs. You can hear tires screeching when I say my Twitter tag there. Or you can email
We're
into
all
the
racing
show.
to ask you a question.
That's it. Not to get away from me. But guys, wait up. Or if you want to email into the show, please head over to leveldesignlobby@gmail.com. Before we wrap up, though, Dan, do you have anything else you want to add or say, mate?
I just want to say thank you very much for having me. It's been a blast. I've really enjoyed working on the channel over these last few weeks, and I hope I'll be sticking around for a good long while.
Me too, mate. Me too. It sounded like a death march. Then I was like, Jesus, Dan, you make it sound like I treat you like shit. Now shut the fuck up.
No, you're really good to me.
Send help. Awesome. All right, then, everyone, take it easy, and we'll catch you all next time.